a lot of the most important things that I've done in my life, they may not be important by some standards, but important to me, are things that I thought of myself. I decided in 1975 that I was going to go to Russia at the height of the Cold War, borrow a bunch of paintings from the Russian government, bring them to my gallery in Santa Fe and open a show. Everybody laughed at me. But I had a couple of hold cards. I knew Armand Hammer. He knew the Russian Minister of Culture. I could operate back and forth through Occidental Petroleum. He had a telex. That was before faxes or anything like that. And I met Madame Petrova, and I made a handshake deal with her at a circus one night in Moscow, that we would have a 5-year cultural exchange program. And I went to either 8 or 9 Russian museums and picked out 36 fashion paintings painted in Russia with the Russian signature or no signature. I brought them to my gallery and opened a show there. And when I had those paintings hanging in my gallery, I did not have a signed contract with the Russian government, including the big portrait of Lenin. 50 by 60 inch portrait of Lenin, a national treasure. And Madame Petrova, I called Madame Petrova on the phone and I said, "How do you want me to insure these paintings? I had a wonderful relationship with you." You know what she said? "Forrest, you know more about that than I do. You put a valuation on them." Good Lord. The deal was that she pays for everything that costs rubles, because it was against the law for a ruble to leave Russia, and I pay for everything that costs dollars. So I pick all these paintings out to get on an airplane, land at JFK. State Department's mad at me because they don't know what's going on. They call me on the phone, "Forrest, these Russian nationals are getting off this airplane. I demand to know what's going on down there in Santa Fe." And I tried to get the State Department to give me some money because they had a detente program going on where they were trying to improve relationship with Russia, but they wouldn't let me have any of that money. It was laying there, but I couldn't have any of it, so I decided I'd pay for it myself. But because I've got to do everything and you're not going to help me, I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing. And I didn't. And I hate to tell you this story, but there was a Undersecretary of State or something, big shot. I wouldn't take their calls, but my secretary came to me and said, "Forrest, you should take this call." She said, "It's an undersecretary." Well, I don't know, under what? I mean, is this guy a big shot or not? And she said, "Yeah, he's a big shot." And he started in on me, just giving me hell for, "Are you running the federal government? I mean, who do you think you are down there in Santa Fe, New Mexico?" I said, "Listen, why don't you pull out all those letters that I wrote trying to get you to help me? And after you come up to speed," I said, "call me back." I said, "I may take your call and I may not." And he hung up the phone, and I got all these paintings, and I had, in order to get the paintings, I had to hire a Russian curator. His name was Slava Titov. I had to furnish him with transportation and a place to live, because he accompanied the paintings over here. They were not framed. They took the frames apart. A frame comes in 4 parts. So you screw it together and you put the painting in it. And he had to do that because that was one of the requirements. And I said, okay. So we're doing that. It cost me a bunch of money. And Peggy said, "Did you invite Madame Petrova to the opening?" I didn't even think about it. So I called her on the phone, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning where she was, but it was okay time for me. She said, "Why are you calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning?" I said, "Well, I want you to invite you to our show." She said, "Okay, I'll be there," and she hung up the phone. I mean, that's the kind of relationship we had. She was the greatest. She went on the Today Show. I had given her a Zuni pen, inlaid with turquoise and jet and coral and different things. It was a pretty little pen. And she was on the Today Show, I think, with Diane Sawyer or somebody. And Diane Sawyer says, "Oh, Madame Petrova, where did you get that lovely pen?" She said, "Forrest Fenn from the prestigious Fenn Galleries in Santa Fe, New Mexico gave this to me." God, there went $150,000 worth of advertising for free. But anyway, we had a good relationship. And she came to the opening, and when we were hanging the paintings on the wall, Slava Titov was working with a couple of my guys. An FBI agent came up from someplace, Albuquerque, I guess, and I think the State Department had called him. And he told me who he was, and he said he was mad. And he said, they were hanging that big portrait of Lenin. He said, what are you going to do, Mr. Fenn, when some militant comes in here with a knife and slashes that painting from one side to the other? What are you going to tell the Russian government? I said, well, it really made me mad. I tried not to show it, but I said, sir, two things come to mind immediately. First one is, when the President of the United States calls me on a phone and asks me what happened, I'm going to tell him that I tried to get you to help me and you wouldn't. And I said, secondly, I can hardly wait. I'm going to make the cover of Time magazine. I'm going to get all this publicity, and I'm going to sell a bunch of paintings. And I said, if you want to send some guys up here to my opening and stand around, and you can do that. I said, but don't come up here getting in my way. I mean, you had your chance to help me and you wouldn't, so just you're standing in my sunshine, I told him. I think there were some FBI agents there or something, but they didn't talk to me, and I was arrogant, but I was mad. You know, I hate bureaucracies. If a job can be done by 2 people, they've got 15 people doing it, and none of them do it right. There's never time to do it right, but there's always time to do it over. Explain this to me. I can make it work if you get out of my way. Just move over. And then I sent the paintings to the Fry Museum in Seattle, to the Buffalo Bill Historical Center in Cody, Wyoming, and then I sent them home, and then I sent them 36 paintings by the fashion paintings that were painted in this country with the English signature. Worked like clockwork.